The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Now call to order the June 3rd, 2025 Local Government Commission meeting. Welcome, everybody. We have a new face here at the table, so let's begin there. Denise Canada joins us. She will officially join as the Secretary of Local Government Commission later this month, I believe the 23rd. So welcome, Denise. We're super excited for your leadership.
Thanks. Really happy to be with you.
I know the team is looking forward to working with you. Thanks to the team for all that you do. A couple notes on board members. First, Mike Philbeck, who's on the line. I believe this will be Mike's last meeting, depending on when an appointment bill is run. So, Mike, we appreciate all your service to the Local Government Commission. Thank you for it, and we will miss your wise advice. Also, potentially, maybe, Paul Butler's term is coming to a conclusion. That said, we don't know exactly who's going to be appointed in his stead, so it may be him, it may not be him. So we just want to say thank you for your service, and we hope we get to enjoy your company going forward as well.
Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Butler. And I don't, John, do you know?
I think I have 1 year left in mine.
That's what I thought. So
You're stuck with me.
yeah, you're stuck with us. So thank you very much for both ways. So
I'll just wait for the governor to tell me to stop coming to meetings now.
fair enough. So we will have new faces in the crowd in different ways at our next meeting. So with that, let's call the roll. Let's call the roll.
This is Cindy Aiken, Assistant General Counsel. We will start with Secretary Marshall. Hi, here. In the room. And Auditor Bolick.
Here, I'm here.
He is here. Secretary Wooten.
Here.
Sir. And John Burns.
Here.
And Paul Butler.
Here.
Ms. Harvey. She is. Ms. Harvey, can you hear us? We see you.
We can't hear you though.
You hear her.
You're muted, but we see you. She's- Just test your mic, make sure you can speak.
Can you hear us, Ms. Harvey?
Give us a thumbs up.
Is this better?
There we go.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome, thank you. And Councilman Hoffman is absent today. Mr. Philbeck is
Here.
one, and Treasurer Briner.
Here.
Just one absence. For the staff, Jeff Poley, Interim Director, and Jennifer Wimmer, Director of Debt Management here, and Kendra Boyle, Fiscal Management, and Mindy MJ and Michael helping us with sound and AV. Several guests. All right, quick housekeeping, same as always. Our meeting is being recorded, will be made available to the public pursuant to the department's recording of public meetings policy. We would remind everyone to please identify yourself when you are speaking. Those who are participating virtually, please mute yourself when you're not speaking. Our meeting will continue, and recording may also be continuing in case we have an audio or video glitch. We try to fix those ASAP, and we'll pause if that happens. The agenda is posted on the website. We will be announcing just a couple changes to the classification of a couple miscellaneous items on the agenda. Votes will be taken by roll call. If the members have no objection, your motions and seconds will be considered as a yes vote unless you want to indicate otherwise during the roll call. Just as a reminder, the microphones in the room are sensitive, and every month I tell myself to stop flipping my papers because it comes through on the recording. I try not to do that, and take any private conversations into the hallway, please. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the North Carolina flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of North Carolina and pledge to the Old North State love, loyalty, and faith.
Thank you, everybody. So I'll now read the conflict of interest statement. Please take a moment to review the agenda. Commission members are reminded of your duty to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any member have an actual or potential conflict of interest with respect to any matter on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, let's move to the approval of minutes. You'll have the minutes from the May 6, 2025 meeting in your materials. Any questions, concerns on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval.
Secretary Marshall,
Second.
Secretary Wooten, please call the roll.
Okay, the May minutes. Marshall Wooten, Auditor Bolick.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Butler,
Aye.
Ms. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Philbeck,
Aye.
and Treasurer Briner.
Aye.
Motion carried.
The minutes are approved. Thank you. So as always, we'll begin with attachment A, looking at the pension and OPEB liabilities of everybody who's coming before the commission today. No secret, and to pair Treasurer Falwell for a second, the big challenge is the state, but many municipalities do have a balance here as well. They've made good progress in many cases, particularly Union County and Asheville in defeating some of these liabilities. And so we want to continue to have the spotlight on these liabilities for all our issuers as they are large and growing in every case. So with that, we will go to attachment B, which is Vance County, our single UAL unit issuer on the calendar today. Do we have anyone from Vance County on the line today?
Yes, we have Stephanie Williams.
Okay, welcome, Stephanie. And over to Jennifer and Kendra.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. The one unit on the unit assistance list unit is Vance County. They're coming to us for a $1,562,000 financing agreement to have their fleet management and their fleet vehicles renewed. So they're going into a lease program. And the reason that you are seeing that is because the vehicles fall underneath the UAL guidelines. So I will turn it over to Kendra to discuss their financial help.
Okay, good afternoon. You have your write-up in your packets on why they've been included on the unit assistance list. It was because their fiscal year 23 audit report was filed late, and when it was filed, it identified significant internal control weaknesses. According to the audit report, those deficiencies arose around record keeping and reconciliations procedures, which delayed the issuance of the financials. These issues were in part the result of a lack of and failure of segregation of duty controls. And although these issues were in the fiscal year 23 audit report, they weren't formally identified well into fiscal year 24. So as you would expect, they were recurring in fiscal year 24, some of these internal control problems. And so the unit has responded to us with a corrective action plan that outlines the steps that are necessary to put in place internal controls to try and mitigate the issues that happened in previous years. And among those are hiring some experienced staff and providing them with additional training and implementing a formal review checklist to catch reconciliation discrepancies. And then the one that I thought was fairly significant is that they are having quarterly internal control self-assessments and with follow-up reporting directly to the counties and audit committee. So they are working with the board and becoming much more involved in the whole internal control process and making sure that they are not at risk for things happening as they have in the past. So we do believe that, if these measures are put in, have been put in promptly and effectively, that they should directly result in some improvement in these things. In fiscal year 24, they did also have an item of concern in their water and sewer fund, which was related to the net operating loss. But these were due to 2 one-time capital maintenance expenditures that needed to occur. And they do not foresee there being an issue with that in the future or a repeat of an operating loss. So those are information and combined with the write-up that I felt like was necessary for you all to know in order to make your decision on the debt request.
Questions about the Vance County?
Pretty bad.
It's really bad.
Has there been a criminal referral?
Yes, the information that I had in the write-up all came from a document from the federal courts about the information. There have been numerous articles. There have been assets seized to try and to recoup some of these issues. And I'm sure Ms. Williams can speak to.
Town manager who committed these actions is no longer with us, correct?
It was the finance officer for the county.
She can-
So this is a bond claim after asset recovery?
Presumably. I did have a question about the interest rate.
Yes,
It's
I got
higher
that
than
myself.
we normally see. And is that because of the history here, or is that just the times we live in?
So this particular one, because I think that there are so many vehicles involved, that's the pricing that that entity got. So I think it's a little bit.
Okay.
Quick question. It's my longstanding position that we don't second guess the political decisions of local government, but they do base this on a conclusion that going with enterprise fleet management will save them money and minimize downtime, long-term financial benefits, and lower costs of fleet operations. Do y'all double check that? Who makes that determination? Is that just the county's financial officers that look at it and determine that they're going to save money over the way they've been doing it before?
So most of the time when any of these vehicles come to us, or they want to even purchase them in terms of putting it into like limited obligations bonds, like part of that, they've already done an analysis at the unit level, and most of the time have provided us with the information of the cost that they're annually paying for repairs for their vehicles and or the replacement cost, and then the asset that they would have to then maintain. Whereas this, with the vehicle lease program, they actually have with Enterprise, we've done some research on our own to see that program, and then they can like cycle out the vehicles so that over a long term, most of the time for at least smaller government, it makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
It's a representative on the phone, I believe.
Yes.
Any other questions or concerns?
I just was curious about the statement in the materials that we have. This is John Burns. That it talked about the savings and long-term, minimizing downtime and savings in long-term operations. Could you give me a 15-second summary of what kind of money it's going to save the county to go with this leasing program?
Yeah, so currently, right now, with this leasing program, we'll be able to get vehicles for our sheriff department, animal services, our maintenance department. So that total that's in there is going to be, I think right now it's going to be for about 38 vehicles. So right now, just with the sheriff department of the cars that is budgeted just that year alone, just for the sheriff department, not the other departments, it's over $400,000. So we're definitely going to say we're being able to get cars for the county and not just one department. And we do have an aging vehicle, so it's certainly going to help in a lot of maintenance that is coming up on those vehicles. So we definitely will be able to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the Vance County issuance.
I'll move approval. Burns.
Burns, is there a second?
Second.
Secretary Wood. Call roll, please.
Vance County's lease, Burns Wooten. Secretary Marshall? Aye. Alder Volek?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Ms. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Philbeck?
Aye.
Mr. Treasurer Briner?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Carries. Thank you. So we'll move to attachment C, which are the FPIC units, Bryson City, and then 2 Orange County items. Over to Jennifer.
Excuse me. The first unit that we're going to be discussing today is Bryson City. They are coming to us for $991,000 to replace their metering system. And they are saying that it is going to help for the overall accuracy, to find possible savings in that, but they do have several financial performance indicators of concern, so I will turn it over to Kendra to discuss.
Okay. So you do have your summary of those financial performance indicators of concern. You can see most of them do have to do with the water and sewer fund. And this is to address these issues. The unit has adopted a new rate structure for fiscal year 2025. The things that they're trying to come to you all for approval will also contribute to their ability to generate revenue in the water and sewer fund. They also have had some issues in internal controls. They had a finance officer bond was not sufficient, and they had a late filing. And this was in part due to an accounting software transition, which we hear repeatedly. I haven't heard one that went smooth. So, and then also that their auditor was in the Asheville area and was affected by Hurricane Helene. So those contributed to the lateness of their audit. I will say I have had multiple conversations with this unit about how their newly adopted rate structure has resulted in generating revenue for this fiscal year. They were able to produce budget to actual statements quickly and answer my questions, and I had rigorous questions for them about the budget to actual and how it looked, and they were able to address those in a sufficient way. So that was what I felt like you all needed to know for this decision. Unless there are other questions.
So, I don't know, and I'm embarrassed that I don't know, but what type of damage or anything did they sustain as a result of Tropical Storm Helene with respect to their water system, and are they eligible for any funding from the General Assembly's past 2 appropriations to Western North Carolina, as opposed to borrowing money to upgrade a system if there is damage that can be attributable to the storm and they would otherwise potentially be, in line to receive funding that was appropriated by the General Assembly. I think it's $1.5 billion so far of state funds that could assist with respect to this instead of them having to borrow the money.
Right. I haven't had any conversations with the unit in regards to them having damage from Helene. This was what I mentioned was reference to their auditor, but I don't know if they may be on the line.
Curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just showed Nate Bowe, Director of Engineering Public Works, is online.
Could we ask him that question? Nate?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Nate, did you hear my question?
I did, and I'm also I'm the one that registered for the for this meeting, but I've got here in the room with me our town manager Sam Patillo and our finance officer Carla Passmore and our attorney Michael Frew. They're all with me here today.
Great. I guess, and again, I'm sorry this is Auditor Bullock. I'm trying to help you. I'm just curious as to, and I certainly don't have any issue with you guys wanting to borrow the money, but whether there was any potential attributable damage to the water system and whether you're able to receive any of the state appropriated dollars to assist in Western North Carolina recovery with respect
yes,
to
sir.
the water system.
Yes, I'd like to address that. We did have some damage around our service area from the hurricane, mostly due to flooding, but the water metering system wasn't affected by the storm. And we do have applications that we plan to turn in for some of the supplemental Helene funding to address future disaster resiliency and protection of our infrastructure. But the water metering system that we need to borrow money for is something that it's got a short window of availability with the prices that we've locked down with the supplier. And also our current metering system is starting to fail. It's a drive-by radio read system that has battery powered registers. That is at the end of its useful life. And so we do have other priorities that we're going to approach the state for additional funding assistance on, but this is one that's of a time sensitive nature, and it was not a facility that was damaged by the hurricane, nor do I really think it would score highly on a competitive funding application as we're trying to score points for things that would be resilient to those future disasters.
Great, I appreciate it. I just wanted to make sure if I could help you in any way, glad to do it.
Thank you.
Questions around the Bryson City matter?
Well, it's not really a question, it's a conversation. This is Elaine Marshall, Secretary Marshall, and Notary Administrator for the state. I guess this is more to Mr. Patillo. I noticed that your number 5 in your letter talked about that checks are now being written and witnessed by a certified notary within the administrative staff. That kind of raised hairs to go up at my office. A notary doesn't witness in their notary capacity unless it's for a document that has a notary acknowledgement or jurat on it. And so I don't think you're notarizing checks. So was the word notary just used here to make weight to your response?
Yes, ma'am. And the process that we had a requirement of 2 signatures, and we had a contractor that I signed, I believe, 2 checks to with just my signature. So our staff here in office are notaries. I did put that in there just to include that. It has no relevance, I understand, with accountability with you guys. Also, after speaking to the mayor concerning our organizational structure, we are taking steps to restructure, have a separate finance officer from the town manager, and we know that that's important for accountability. So that is my word that I inserted, no one else. So didn't mean to ruffle hairs, but that was me only.
Well, sometimes there are creative people out there that find ways to think they're doing something, and I just wanted to make sure you all were having your dual acknowledgements, but it had nothing to do with the real notary function.
No, ma'am. I have learned a lot in this position, and I feel like we're taking these steps to bring our structure up to date and meet the accountability expectations that the local government commission has.
We appreciate that very much. My chief deputy is from Bryson City, and he appreciates that very much too.
Well, hello, Chief Deputy.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll entertain a motion on Bryson City.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll on Bryson City, please.
Excuse me, Marshall and Rowley. Secretary Wooten.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Mr. Butler.
Aye.
Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
And Mr. Philbeck.
Aye.
Treasurer Briner.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries.
All right. Over to, we'll do the 2 Orange County items together. Do you have anyone from Orange County on the line?
We have Gary Donaldson.
Welcome, Mr. Donaldson.
And I should note, we did receive earlier this morning a public comment, which was regarding Orange County and the two school systems within Orange County. It did come after our public records, our public comment period had closed, and Orange County did not get a chance to respond to this. So unless you want me to go into it, I'd rather not, given this.
I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, yeah,
Say that.
and so,
Terry to respond.
yeah.
Okay, so Orange County has two items before us today. The first of which is the GO bond authorization that was passed by the voters in November 2024. As you have seen in previous months, there have been several of those referendum and authorizations that the commission has approved. We were waiting on financial information that was not there for us to bring this to you. So the 300 million, it has been approved, as you will see in the packet. And then the second item is a limited obligation bonds transaction dealing with multiple projects. Orange County, like many other local governments, either do an annual or every 2 years, come to the commission with limited obligation bonds for a variety of projects. Orange County comes annually, and what is in this package is for schools, sportsplex, and solid waste needs. So I will turn it over to Kendra to discuss their finances.
So Orange County had some financial performance indicators of concern related to the submission of their audited financial statements, as well as some over expenditures and issues with reconciliation of cash accounts, general ledger maintenance, and the annual financial closing process. Many of these stemmed from a problem with the accounting software. They had a glitch in that required a vendor patch, and the implementation of that took time away from their ability to get these financial statements done in a timely manner. They have implemented that patch. They have also, to work on the reconciliation of their accounts, they have upgraded their accounting system to use a module that will identify outstanding transactions and allow them to identify those and deal with them in a much timelier basis. They also had an issue with their finance officer bond was not in the correct amount. And so it was $500,000, it needed to be $1 million, and that was rectified in April of this year. So and I also have had, again, conversations with the unit about these financial performance indicators of concern and the need to make sure that they put in place plans to mitigate these happening again in the future. And they have provided us the detailed plan of action that we believe will result in not having these findings in the future.
Questions, comments, concerns on Orange County? Yes, Honorable.
I do. So I'm sure it's because of the nature of the bonds, but so on the 78 million limited obligation bond, have the ratings are AA plus. But yet on the general obligation bonds, there's an expected rating of AAA. Is there, can you explain that?
So depending on the credit, so general obligation bonds are rated on certain entities than the other types of bonds that unit would issue because of credit.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And Do we calculate, the LGC calculate the debt per capita differently for general obligation bonds than they do for limited obligation bonds? Because those numbers are different.
Yes, so that's been a question that has come up before, and normally we have one transaction per LGC meeting. So when it comes to two, we've kind of gone back and forth, but we've tried to do them in order. So it's calculated one and then the other.
Yeah, and I think I remember that, but I just.
We're trying to
It's
see
a
how.
little, I mean, but just and I don't live in Orange County, but just looking at it, when the per capita debt for the state is $421 a person, and Orange County is going to ask its citizens to carry a per capita debt of $4,200, that's quite a substantial number for the citizens of Orange County to carry.
Right, we don't, there's no,
I know, there's no, I mean, it's their political decision. to
Right,
do.
correct.
I get it.
Correct.
And the voters approved the 300.
Yes, sir.
And the county commissioners, I'm assuming, are the ones asking for the 78 million.
Maybe a separate question. We continually have these bonding obligations not followed. I assume that we've communicated those far and wide. They didn't have their financial officer bonded appropriately?
Oh, yeah, it's in the audit.
We see this over and over again.
Right. It when the law came out, there were blog posts, we've issued a memo on it.
Right.
It's a finding in every year, and it gets addressed in the auditors conference that we just had. It'll be addressed in the treasurer's conference upcoming and has been for every year since the law went into place. So yes.
Still have people who. Is there something else?
I mean, does the LGC have an opinion of whether they're going to be able to meet their obligations? Is that something we give?
That's the whole point.
Yeah, I mean, does staff have an opinion on that?
On whether they're going to be able.
Well, $4,200 of per capita debt is a substantial increase from the current per capita debt of $1,748. And they've shown deficiencies in their ability to maintain their financial structure.
The affordability, they can afford it. It's financially sound.
I mean, the voters
That's
approved the
not,
$3
yeah,
million.
that's,
Look,
maybe
the
that's not
voters
the right
approved
word,
the
sound.
$300 million.
That's, yeah.
Yes.
The rating agencies.
It can be paid for.
Maybe I'll tread lightly as a resident of Orange County.
Yes.
I think our job here is to ensure that they can pay this debt
I
back,
understand.
and of that, there's really no doubt.
Mr. Treasurer, may I make a statement?
Of course.
I don't know what Orange County's tax rate is, but they have $1.50 they can use, so I'm pretty sure they can afford it. It's a matter of whether or not that county wishes to do it.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I'm aware. I just was making the point. It's a substantial difference from the average North Carolinian on what their per capita responsibility is. It's, yeah.
Not to make you sad, though, I'd refer you to the front page of the first thing you got. You'll see the federal number.
Although that's gone down since I've been on this board.
I don't know how.
Started at 107, that's down to 105. I'm feeling a little better about the federal government right this minute.
Wait a few months.
I understand.
Okay, so are there any other questions, comments, concerns in Orange County?
We have a motion.
No, but I'll.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, Ms. Burns. Call the roll, please.
And we're taking both,
Yes.
both matters.
Oh, good, okay.
Marshall and Burns. Okay. Means Auditor Bolick,
Aye.
and Secretary Wooten,
Aye.
Mr. Butler,
Aye.
Ms. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Philbeck,
Aye.
Treasurer Briner.
Aye. Okay, so we're on to attachment D, which is the consent agenda items, a whole series of them. Maybe before entertain a motion here, are there any questions, concerns, comments that people have on any of that? And we have no items to pull on.
Just,
Unfortunately, I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry. I hate to be the question asker, but D28, the Charlotte Mecklenburg Hospital Authority doing business as Atrium Health. That again is a substantial increase in their borrowing capability. Have they indicated what their intended specific use for that money is?
So yes, we have contacted them and been in discussions, and as there were previous conversations about their projects, because of different entities as a corporation that they indeed hold, each of the entities themselves in different states have their own commercial paper program. So, and I'm trying to get right now, whether or not it's technically in the bond order, but it relates back to the resolution that the board has made that the projects will be in North Carolina for the Atrium and its affiliates in that program. So those, they've had a massive growth over the years since the commercial paper program was increased the first time. Commercial paper, as you probably already know, is a short-term cash flow program to allow construction projects and things to go on, so it's not delayed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question was, who is included in the CMHA combined group? I mean, is that only entities that are in Mecklenburg County? Or does that include entities that are also in Pitt County, for example, or other Atrium facilities are located?
So it is within the state. I think the only thing that is pulled out, if I'm not mistaken, is the Wake Forest Baptist Medical Practice, because although they are in a partnership with them, I think that they have one separately. So I will get information on that, but it's their doctors' practices and their other standalone facilities.
Owned hospitals in other counties.
In other counties across the state of North Carolina?
And Wake Forest Baptist is not. They have their own obligated group, as we say. They have their own borrowing entity.
A couple of years ago, there were some very heated conversations about borrowing. It was my understanding then, and I would like to know if it still is, that this short-term, that happened to be an acquisition for another out-of-state hospital. That was different than the short-term lending. Is that this is used so that they don't interrupt their longer-term investments that they have either in this entity or in the foundation that backs this entity. And then my question is, I assume that is still correct, is there $800 million or close to it in their investments that they have that they could, if this went sideways, could call upon if they needed to?
Okay. And I've just heard back from bond counsel, and because it's defined, the affiliates as defined in the bond order, the governing bodies does not appoint, they're not appointed members through the Charlotte Mecklenburg Health Care Authority. So it can only be used for the North Carolina facility, so not Navicent or Floyd Health in Georgia. So to your question, this commercial paper program will be used to finance projects. So, and to your point of, do they have the investments? Yes.
But from just a business standpoint, it frees up cash flow so they can operate in other states.
Of course, right. The fungibility of money is not lost.
Yeah, I mean, just be clear about that.
And you, Secretary Marshall had, is that all on? Okay, you had another question on a different transaction on the.
Raleigh Housing Authority.
Yes. Well, Raleigh Housing Authority was just
The Raleigh Housing Authority has been moved to an action item versus non-action item reporting. And that is because of the general statute that it falls under, that it must be approved, that information. Secretary Marshall's question came up about the Asheville Housing Authority. So originally, the structure was to be, the bonds to be sold by Piper Sandler in a 20-year bond. Because of the way that the structure is now being done, the Housing Authority statute has a 40-year amortization cap. So they're using that 40-year amortization cap, but it's an 18-year initial term. So they're amortizing it with a balloon payment at 18 years.
okay.
So that's the new structure because of the way that they're putting it in this investor through Boston Capital Finance. But previously, it was done under a different structure with just sold by Piper Sandler.
Okay.
Questions, comments, or concerns?
And did we find out, confirm the Wendell one, that it is a typo?
Yeah. Wendell does plan to close around July 17th, 2025, rather than 2024. Okay. So let's pass that one as amendment.
Okay. So with that amendment, 2025 from 2024, do I have a motion to approve the full consent agenda?
Well, and before you move, just to be clear, so what was on your page D34, very last page, that is now action. So that very last Raleigh Housing Rock Quarry, that's included in the vote. But the Capital Facilities Finance Agency, Eastern Area Health Education, that's moved to no vote. We had them backwards, we apologize. Okay, very clear. Clear as mud. Sorry about that.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the full consent agenda with those two modifications?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Second, Secretary Wooten. Call the roll, please.
All right, Burns and Wooten, consent agenda, which includes everything in the packet except Henderson and the other one, Eastern AHEC, as we call it. Okay.
And changes 2024 to 2025.
Yes, on page D27 or 8, wherever it
I don't want
was.
them to be in default as soon as it passed. That would be bad.
Down at Wendell is closing in 2025. Thank you. Burns Wooten, so Secretary Marshall. Aye. Auditor Bollitt.
Aye.
And Mr. Butler.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
And Mr. Philbeck.
Aye.
And Treasurer Reiner.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all.
Okay, over to attachment D, non-action items.
Sure. We had the Henderson rate, and that rate has decreased. So we just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And I will turn it over to Jeff for the Capital Facility Finance Agency if there's questions.
Anyone has any questions about the Capital Facilities Finance Agency bond, I can certainly take them. What is happening is they have reached the end of their 10-year put period, as we call it. And the same bank is going to continue holding the bonds for a new period to maturity. And so the interest rate has changed, but it's all in accordance with the original documents. And this will also be reported at the Capital Facilities Finance Agency that we anticipate having in August. But since it just happened, we wanted to go ahead and say.
Any questions on these matters? Okay, we don't need a vote. So let's go over to attachment E. These are draft resolutions about LGC consent for bond refundings. For those who are at Council of State this morning, this will sound eerily familiar because we essentially did the same thing at the state level, allowing the state or allowing the treasurer in that case to refinance debt at a lower interest rate, not to change amortization periods or amount outstanding without getting affirmative consent rather than having a standing consent. And so what this proposal essentially does, and I'll hand it over to Jeff for more details, is mirrors that proposal, where municipalities that are subject to LGC jurisdiction have the ability to save materially on interest rates without changing when the debt is due or the amount of debt outstanding. We want to empower them to do that as soon as they possibly can. Seems sensible policy. What did I miss, Jeff?
So there are 3 resolutions before you. Technically, the LGC approves applications, so we have approval for general obligation bond applications, for a resolution for water and sewer applications, and a resolution for 168-20, often called LOBS transactions. They are draft because there's about 18 bond lawyers in the state, and with the 5 lawyers in this room, you know how hard it is to get agreement quickly when you have a lot of lawyers who want to comment. So we do plan to have this finalized in July, so these can be adopted. The practical effect of this is, assuming the cities and counties follow through with also doing blanket refunding stuff, that they would be able to come to market much faster than they would otherwise, and hopefully save money instead of getting on a calendar and having to wait 3 months where the market may pass them by.
So this means then they could do this without bringing it before the LGC.
They have to let us know that they are going to do it.
Yeah, they come to us for a sale date, but the limitations are you cannot extend the maturity and you cannot substantially change the amortization schedule, and it must be for about savings.
Now, will the LGC be informed of the units that's done that at its next board meeting?
Yes, so the way it works is usually someone will call the LGC when they see a financing and say, can we get on your sale calendar? And then they work the process through the LGC to end up the sale calendar. This would basically remove the step that having to come here for these particular transactions. They can go straight to sale, and Jennifer, or if it's competitive, someone else in our office reviews the sales of those refunding bonds.
Why hadn't this ever been done before?
I'd love to tell you I have an answer for that.
Elaine, Secretary Marshall?
Not considered, the opportunity for refunding back when was not so great. It's just more volatile market right now, and interest rates are somewhat like a ping pong ball.
We need the interest rate market to cooperate to have this be useful. So hopefully it will, but I think it's sensible for us to do, and hopefully we'll save our municipalities and our state a lot of money over time. So we'll come back with fully baked, lawyered
Yes.
proposals.
I counted 5 in the room, so I think most of us know.
Any other questions on this?
So, if I could, this is Cindy Aiken. I just was going to make a comment on the third one, which is surrounding financing agreements, which are not bonds. We just had an example of one, Henderson, right? Where we've been treating them as, quote, non-action items. So we may or may not need the third one, but we wanted a little more time to think about it, just to make sure we weren't missing something. But that was a perfect example. The Henderson one didn't need your vote, but we just let you know about it.
Okay, unless there are other questions, we'll move to wrap it up, and I'm happy to have any questions, concerns on any matters from any committee member. I'll just remind you, our next meeting is July 1st. We will have a new secretary presiding at that time. Before I entertain a motion to adjourn or any other comments, I just want to thank Jeff Poley for stepping in as interim. Really appreciate it. It's always great when an interim continues the progress of whatever body they're running. And you've certainly done that here, and so thank you for that. Any other comments from any board members?
I want to personally thank Mike Philbeck, who never comes but is always there, and certainly reads his minutes and everything faithfully and does diagnostic workup on all these, and his personal knowledge and his diligence to this commission will be missed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Treasurer,
Please, Mike.
in the event that the appointments bill does get done in June, this is my last meeting. I just want to say I've enjoyed working with all the folks I've worked with. I have appreciated them. Generally speaking, it's been, even when there are occasional split votes, that people are very respectful, and those have been relatively rare, but it has been a good experience. Actually was appointed in 2014, if my memory is correct, to an unexpired term, which was a little ways in, twice an odd number of years, and then Speaker Moore appointed me twice. Bill is to that expired term, but I did tell the Speaker very early on that I would think this would be my last term. I term limited myself in Shelby before the people did it after 12 years. And I just didn't even want to ask even former speaker, much less a new speaker at this point. I just feel like it's best for me and my family, and me, I should say. But I do appreciate everyone. Mr. Treasurer, thank you for what you've done. It's only been 5 or 6 meetings, but you've done an excellent job. And I will say that all the folks that I have talked with by phone and communicated with on the board have been very gracious to me, and I appreciate it and wish all of you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and we will come visit you in Shelby.
Yeah.
Well, since I have a neighbor that you know around the corner from me, I'll be very disappointed.
Sir, any other comments? Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Honorable, we'll take a second from Mr. Butler. Call the roll, please.
Marshall.
This will be a record. Aye.
Yeah, I think it might be. Should we drag it? Wooten. I forgot who was. Burns.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Philbeck.
Aye.
Reiner.
Aye. Thank you. We're adjourned. I appreciate it.
I'll call you back.